Okay, gather round everyone if you want to find out about assignment 2. So, assignment 2, assignment 1 is dead and buried.
Yay! Maybe it's not wrong. I feel I can speak for the rest of us in this instance.
No, we had some excellent solutions for the photocopiers actually, and I was quite impressed by them. So you've handed in your report, which is at midday today, and I shall mark those and turn those around, and I'm hoping to get the feedback back to you by Monday afternoon if I can. Okay? There's no hard promise there, because you know what my job is like. People come in the office and I have to deal with emergencies and so on. So assignment 2. Assignment 1 was pretty prescriptive. You were given a circuit or a brief of the circuit to make, which was a photocopper of some description, and there were 3 example circuits, and most people made one of those 3 different types of circuit. For assignment 2, you can make pretty much whatever you want. So what's going to affect your decision? Well, the first thing that you need to bear in mind is we have 4 weeks. That seems a funny thing to say in week 7 of the term, but we still have those 4 weeks. That's 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 4 weeks you've got. Now, today, yeah. So that's 24 hours. You've got 24 hours in this lab in formal time. I know some of you have clashes and things like that. Okay, but those of you who don't have clashes, you've got 24 hours in the lab, and out of that 24 hours, you've got quite a few things to do. So inside there, what do we expect? Same as before, some form of simulation, for sure. You've got to build it. Now you know how to build. You can build on breadboard, you can build on Veroboard. Hopefully you're all going to conclude that breadboard isn't reliable, but it's pretty quick. So I would still recommend that your prototype is built on breadboard. So we've got breadboard, we've got Vero. Now we're going one step beyond this time, and I'll let Jane say a little bit about how you submit for your PCB on this. We're going to send off your PCB mask, and we're going to make your PCB. Now it depends how we get on for time, because we may end up in a situation where there simply isn't time to turn this around and for you to solder the components on your PCB, in which case you'll just submit a photograph of your made PCB and I'll attach grades to that. I'm hoping that when we get to the last week, we will have your PCBs ready, willing and able, and you can solder them up and test them. Okay, that's my hope and expectation. Now to be able to have the PCB made, we've got to have by a certain deadline, which, so how much time do we need, Mike?
Oh, it want at least a couple of weeks to get it to China and back again.
Okay, so the PCB to be here, we need 2 weeks. This is why there is a possibility that you may not be in a position to actually populate it.
We have to be done with our PCB by next week, basically. We have to be done with our PCB around next week.
End of next week, yeah.
As in the layout of it?
As in the layout of it, yes.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, if you've got your circuit diagram, all you've got to do from your circuit diagram is go into Ultiboard, pull the components about, and that's your PCB made, right? So you can send off your PCB long before you've even prototyped it on breadboard or anything like that, and then it's in the queue and it will come back, and then you can... You saw how long and time consuming it was to make anything on breadboard. Doesn't work first time, it's unreliable to a certain extent, and you're unreliable to a certain extent. You make mistakes, so therefore it doesn't work quite as you would hope it would, and it takes ages to diagnose it. But get some money in the bank by having your PCB delivered, and I'll let Jane explain how we're going to upload those Gerber files later.
The other thing I say is that if your board wasn't, you changed your mind about your board, that doesn't stop you using link throughs and pin through.
No.
It doesn't stop you doing any of those things. You can still adjust it from your board that you've sent in to be, made, but...
An extreme example from last year, Ibrahim, he's now working at DICAM as an electronic designer, and he tipped his board the wrong way up. So he ended up having to solder the components on the copper side. Now, he ended up with a first class because I could forgive him for the fact that he'd put his board in mirror image, but he, rather than complain about it or get angry about it, he just got over it. And it actually looked quite good. It actually looked like he meant to put the components on the copper side because he made such a good job of it. So if your PCB isn't exactly right, it's on the aeroplane to China or whatever, it's too late, you can't do anything about it, you've just got to get over it. And the way to do that is like Jane says, with little copper jumpers, you haven't got a track in there or whatever, you just put it in by hand. But you get over it. So, breadboard, Veroboard, PCB. We'll talk about the deadline for the PCB in a minute. Another big order to us is components. Now, from casual observation, it appears to me that we can turn around components when they're ordered in about 2 to 3 days, because most of them come from Rapid Electronics. You're probably well advised to try and find a circuit that you can build from stuff that we have in the drawers. Why? Because you can get on and do it now, and there's also, you don't have the problem of those components being out of stock at the supplier. So you may have a wonderful circuit, and you can't get those components, or those components are on a back order or something like that. So that should be something that affects your design. Can you make it with available components? We've got lots of components, but things like analog to digital converters and so on, we don't keep them off the shelf and we have to order them. Now, with things like operational amplifiers and so on, we may not have a 597004 blah blah blah, but we've got the equivalent, and that's the thing, that's what you saw with diodes and transistors, didn't you? NPN, PNP, we've got lots of those transistors. We may not have the actual number you're looking for, but it doesn't make any difference, they still work the same. Unless you're doing something with RF or something. Okay, so your components, the method for ordering components is Malcolm in the office there will order them for us, but Malcolm does not want to, can you order me one of these, 2 resistors and so on and so forth. So I think what we'll try and do is we'll have an order book. We've got the little orange books that you probably had in your undergraduate years, and we'll just keep it on the end of the bench there. We'll put a date at the top there, and what I'd like in the order book is the component number and where that component is stocked. Now, Rapid Electronics is just up the road and we can turn that around really fast. That would be the preferred route. So it's rapid.com. And we can potentially get that to you in a couple of days, which would be quite nice. Okay, so 2 commitments on your part. You've got to deliver your PCB, and you've got to order any components that you wish to have. Okay? Any questions on that? Just assuming you use hybrid components, which are difficult to obtain. You use the ones out the drawer, you could probably build the whole thing in a week if you spend some time in here. Okay, happy with that? Right, Jane, your server for the PCB.
Yes, if all of you could open this PC on your computers, open up my computer or this PC, you should see you have a W drive, and in that W drive, you do?
Yeah.
Now in that W drive there should be a 721 folder, which is currently empty. So this folder is for you to leave with your registration number and your design when it's ready, and then from there John and Michael will be able to pick up your designs to send them all off.
And this will be a hard deadline. Once the deadline's gone, no PCB. Simple as that.
Yes.
Because we need to put all of the eggs into one basket. We need to place a single order with the manufacturer, and they will send the whole lot back in one go.
But this is only for the submission of your PCB. All your reports and all other paperwork still goes through Phaser. This is just for your PCB design, okay? So we've just got to decide on a deadline, John, haven't we, of when we
We
want
have,
that
and
to
I
be?
think possibly that makes sense to be close of play next Friday,
Yep,
because then after that it gives us the money to send it off, and we've still got the 2-week turnaround time.
so shall we, so that'll be Friday the,
Thank you. Friday the 8th.
Friday the 8th. What time do you have that day, John?
Yeah, 9 till 12.
9 to 12. But should we say 5 p.m. on that day, John?
Yeah,
Would that
okay.
be all right?
Let's give a house. You're gonna need to put give a house or
The format we need are,
Yes.
Well, actually, in fairness, the 5 p.m, if we got one at 6 p.m, we'd
Oh, yeah,
still process it, because we're not going to do it till the Monday. But close of play on Friday,
Friday.
we'll be looking in those folders to try and pull out those PCBs and get them sent off.
and if you could just precede your design by your registration number, it will just make it easier when we come to, identify them later.
Yeah, otherwise you've got to go through a big bag of little boards and you've got to remember what you did and so on, which is going to be time consuming. Also the artwork which is on there, so you've got the masks which go on there, we can show you how to do that. But the manufacturer will put your artwork on there, so if there's, you want to write your name or label the components or whatever, that's all part of it. So the aesthetics are quite important on that as well. Okay, so that's the process there. We can talk a bit more about process later if you want. But what are you going to build?
Circuit.
A circuit, of course.
Maybe even 2.
Wait, could build 2. I think one will do, though. So you want a circuit? What circuits? Well, let's have some suggestions. What did we have earlier? So one I like the idea of is a VU meter. And a VU meter is just the sort of thing that you have in your car or your stereo where the lights jump up and down according to the music. So some kind of LED meter, that might be quite nice. Whoops. An amplifier,
A 7-segment timer.
a 7-segment timer. I won't explain what